You guys can hear me as well? So sorry about that. I had my audio coming through, but I guess I was selecting the wrong microphone. Well, good thing I just ran my mouth for 2 minutes and not 10 minutes. Thank you guys for commenting saying that there's no sound. I guess let's just restart. Hot start, but hello everyone. My name is Charlie. I'm back doing live streams. This is kind of my time to connect with you all. We get to talk about what Ezoic's doing, what the publisher economy is doing, what Google's doing. We can talk about all the new updates within Ezoic. We can talk about products we're kind of working on and kind of putting a lot of effort and some tools into. But I really just want to say, first off, this is really nice to be back here doing these live streams with you all. I really missed kind of building that connection with you all. So if you are rewatching this, I shared the link with a handful of people. If you are rewatching this, feel free to skip forward a couple minutes before we get into some of the nitty gritty. But again, I just want to say, first off, thank you guys for joining. It's been a little while. Exactly. Mind Treasure says it's been a while. But if you're new here and you haven't been to one of these before, what we kind of do is you can just throw your comments or any questions or concerns or queries or anything of that sort into the comment section. And as I do have a couple things to cover, but you guys usually ask such good questions, you kind of just probe me to kind of get right into them. So while I do have some things we want to talk about, I'm sure we all want to talk about the Google update a little bit. Just throw those things in the comment section. But as you guys, if you've been in the live streams in the past, you'll also realize that a lot of the times your guys, insight is super beneficial to both me and others. So if you have things you want to share and say, hey, my site got de-indexed from the Google update, I did X, Y, and Z, and then I re-indexed, and now I'm all good to go. Feel free to share any insight within the comment section, and I can share it with everyone else here. I'm sure they can see it all. But yeah, I think this should just be a good little learning environment for us to all kind of tap into. Again, this can be live support if you guys want to do that route. You can share your domain name, and I can troubleshoot for you guys. We can do some placeholder setup stuff. We can do exclusion rule setup stuff. We can take a look into Flickify. Flickify has been a really good feature for us. It's been working really well. I know this is something we talked about. When is the internal linking feature in NicheIQ going live on websites? That's a good first question. While we give some people a couple more minutes, let me try to dig through, see if I can actually find a date for you. I know we were just reading about this. For a second, I thought it already went live. Domain interlinks. This should be live. Is it not for you? Can you let me know if it's not for you, Okonkwo? And I can take a look at it for you. But I thought it went live. Like, what is today? March 12th? Must have been like or February 28th or something, or February 23rd maybe. Oh, it looks like. Oh, okay, so the feature is currently in Trailblazer. That's what I saw. So it's currently in Trailblazer beta with a wait list, but it should be going through soon. That was a couple weeks ago, so we're testing it with a bunch of sites. We want to make sure kind of everything's ironed out before we move forward. But if you guys aren't in Trailblazer to kind of get early access to some of our new features, I would definitely say go ahead and do that. Join Trailblazer and kind of join that program. We obviously spit out a lot of new features for you guys very consistently, but we don't do it without trial and error. Even when we push it to Trailblazer, we make sure we have some data to back it up that it's working and it's kind of working how we intended to. So if you guys are not part of the Trailblazer program, I would definitely suggest joining it. If you're definitely one that's ready to experiment and kind of push the boundaries of what others are or are not doing. Definitely will help you stay ahead of the game. How do you join? It should be within your dashboard. So normally when you log into your dashboard, a lot of times you get prompted as a pop-up right before. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick on another dashboard. And then we'll get into some of these questions because there's been a lot of good questions. And I'm so happy that I get to see some returning names, which is super exciting, truthfully. I know you guys have come a long way since we probably last spoke. I mean, it's a new year. We went through the holidays. We've done a Google update. We're coming up on Q2. So, yeah, it's been a long time. And I'm really happy that I get to see some of you guys like Ash, Okonkwo. I know you guys have been back. Mind Treasured, you're back. Nikolai, I don't know if we've met before. Game Guru, I know we've met before. But yeah, I'm curious where you guys are also checking in from. I'm currently in San Diego. We have a office in Carlsbad here. I'm not sure if it's exactly our quote unquote main office, but it is where we have the highest headcount. So if that's the case, if that's the deciding factor, this is our main office. But yeah, I'm in San Diego, Carlsbad, California. So yeah, it's just really cool that we get to connect from all around the world. I know we had a lot of people originally from like the UK. We also have an office and headquarters in the UK. But let's just start jumping into it because some of these questions are already kind of leading where I wanted to. So Okonkwo, first off, let's try to find where we can jump into Trailblazer. But again, if you haven't logged into your dashboard in a long time, you should get prompted with a pop-up to join Trailblazer, and you can do it from there. Let's see. It's pretty exciting being back here, guys. It's been a long time. I'm surprised we don't have a Trailblazer direct link from the dashboard. That's very surprising. Okonkwo, I'm gonna just go ahead and talk to some of our product team and get something built out within the dashboard so they can easily join. Because if they're trying to jump up adoption rate, I'm sure they're gonna want that easily accessible from the dashboard. Either that or I'm blind, which is super possible. You can also go to like the notifications tab in the top right section of your dashboard. There's a little notification bell. Sometimes you'll see the invitation to Trailblazer there. Okay. Yeah, I'll get that added to the dashboard for you, Okonkwo, though, for sure. Okay. Let's start going through some of these comments here. Again, when is the internal linking feature in NishaQ going live on websites? It's currently being tested in Trailblazer beta program. I'll get that invitation added to the dashboard for you guys. So maybe you can just search for it in the top right corner by maybe tomorrow, and hopefully will be added. I'll ping someone directly after this to get that going. Ash says, I got de-indexed even though I have no AI or spam content, but I was able to request a review and got re-indexed. But interested to hear what might have triggered the manual action though. So sometimes, if you guys have seen there's manual action, you can actually resubmit to see if it can get re-indexed from there. But we've actually found instances as well where people aren't manually re-indexing their content, and Google's kind of taking back the spam notification that they've given for their sites. So it almost seems like Google is noticing that they've made some mistakes in some of the action, like in some of the manual action required notifications that have gone out along with the de-indexing. So that is, I guess, a good sign. But again, we don't have explicit guidelines and exactly what Google's, kind of pinpointing in some of their reviews. It does seem though that they are getting flagged to these Google webmasters, so they are doing a manual physical review. At least we believe so. But yeah, sometimes it's been for, issue detected for like misleading content. Your site appears to violate our misleading content policy, and users into engaging with it by promising details which are not reflected in the content. What I've seen on a few instances of this is basically there's been a lot of AI content sometimes that says like top 5 best X to do in a location, like top 5 things to do in San Diego. And it talks about the pros of San Diego, it talks about the cons of San Diego, it talks about living in San Diego, it talks about the different counties, but it doesn't actually answer the question. That's pretty AI bare content that's not revised and edited as you guys mostly do. But that's been one instance. I mean, from the beginning of time I've ever been at Ezoic, we've always said content is king, and it's never not the case. So if you are prioritizing your content, handwritten, original, especially if it adds something new to the environment of Google web search that does not exist prior, of course, that's a pretty limited scope of things you can do. What hasn't been written and posted, on someone's website and published on Google Search Console. But if you really try to focus on the original aspect of your approach to what you write, that's going to be super beneficial to you. Because if it doesn't exist anywhere, then it can exist in your rankings pretty well. When I apply Ezoic Leap, then my website traffic goes down, and also page speed test down from 95 to 77. So in terms of leap and traffic, there's absolutely no correlation or causation between enabling leap and your traffic directly going down. If your pages aren't being indexed, that would definitely be something we want to look into. But in terms of our standard application of leap, you should definitely not be losing traffic off the bat. And if you are, definitely head to our support. Let me write it down for you. And reach out and just say, hey, help me figure out what is actually going on here. I enabled Leap and all of a sudden my traffic's down. We can say, okay, look, are your pages being indexed? Are there errors in Google Search Console? Are there other things outside of this that could be in play? Because if you're saying, hey, 4 days ago, when Leap was active, my traffic dipped a lot. Well, we definitely want to check if there was hit by the spam update, the Google Core update. And kind of take a granular look at things. If your site is seasonal with its content, if it's focused on holidays, like Christmas holidays, New Year holiday content, maybe it's revolved around, the NFL football. So maybe it's out of season there. There's a lot of things we want to look about when kind of dissecting traffic losses. But when we get into the page speed test, that's something that we really want to be careful with, because first of all, if you enable Leap and then run all of these tests, first off, cache will not be updated and cache will not be stored yet. So we want to make sure that when we implement Leap, we want to wait a few days, because one of the also major benefits of Leap, other than having every feature you need for site speed and caching, is the fact that it will actually analyze real user data. So when I activate Leap, it's important to wait 3-4 days before you actually want to go in and analyze your core web vitals. Again, it's because we use real user data, so we need data to come through, we need to analyze it, and then we can give you the actual scores based off your real users. And then, of course, if you, again, like I said, if you activate Leap, you need to wait a little bit for caching to build up, because that way you are serving cache pages a lot faster. And then also kind of going how page speed test goes, it's actually just a lab type lab type scan with an N of the above the fold content. So it doesn't give you a great indicator of what your users actually getting on your pages. It's just going to be an original scan. And if you're saying, hey, Charlie, I understand that, I understand the differences between Leap and Page Speed Insights now, but still I still want my pages to be scoring highly on Page Speed Insight. One thing you can do is actually just activate the Chrome extension and kind of dissect and look at the top above, or at least look at above the fold portion of your pages to see if there's any, maybe extra ads you might want to push below the fold. Of course, that's going to have a really, significant negative impact on revenue. But if you're really focused on the high scores purely, that is something you can do. Just push those below the fold. Another thing you can do is also just change the viewport of your video to also fall to the second or third or fourth viewport. That way your video is not being loaded above the fold and kind of messing with those initial speed scores as well. But then again, core mode jobs, one thing you can always just do is reach out to us in the community, and we'll just probably push you in the right direction of, hey, this is where we should be looking if we want to improve those scores. And hey, these are maybe the things that you're focusing on that will not have as much of a play. But if you're also thinking that, hey, I need to get my page speed insight scores up really high because I want my content to rank really well, there's actually very, 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 very low correlation between your site speed scores and how you're actually ranking. It's much more of a heavily focus on content opposed to speed. Google said this themselves, not as explicitly as we would love, but still, Google said this again. Content is king. The content that falls within your articles and what you write is going to be one of the highest indicators of rankings, of course, with a couple other things, but it doesn't have as much of an emphasis on site speed as it generally seems to be in the public view. I cannot speak English sometimes. Oh yeah, Creativity says, hello, I have a question about warming account in Ezoic. I'm assuming you meant to say warning, but I'm curious what this warning exactly is. Is it, do you need to update tax info? Do you need to update your profile settings? Do you need to, add a payment details? But if you can expand on that a little bit, what that warning actually is, I can help you out with that, and also try to just resolve it so you don't see it in your dashboard anymore. But then also Creativity asks, can you speak about levels? Of course. I'm curious if you have a question exactly what you're looking for in levels, but to kind of give you a granular view of what our levels are. In the past, it was access now and then level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or VIP. Access now is kind of my realm of Ezoic. I work on onboarding and kind of managing all access now to level 1 publishers. But as we've moved into the new year, we kind of realized that our Access Now program has kind of established itself, within the market. People understand that if you have a brand new site, coming to Ezoic is going to be your most beneficial first step in terms of, using our hosting, using our site speed, using our monetization, using Flickify, and kind of getting your bare bones site everything it needs to be successful. But once we kind of established that ground, we just kind of removed Access Now, and that's now just level 1. So level 1 will be publishers, 0 to 10,000 or 20,000 page views. And then kind of as your site grows, you kind of go up in level, and there are things that are available within the higher levels. But I think the main thing that we see pretty often is that you think you're in level 1 or level 2, you don't have access to, a team, or you don't have access to support. But in reality, we've been running support for all, hundreds of our publishers, with responses while we're in office, within an hour, within 2 hours. And keep in mind, we have people on our team all over the world. So we are covering all time zones where people will get our responses. Of course, over the weekend, you'll probably have to wait, a little bit longer till we're back in office. But a lot of the times people say, there's no support in level 1, level 2. Like, where do I go for help? But our community is actually very, very heavily maintained. You can see how many active users are in there, how many people on our team are always in there. But for instance, a lot of people also say, hey, I want to talk to a real person. Well, I will be one of those people managing the community. We have Tucker in there right now. We also have Jan in there as well. So there's currently 2 in there, minimum. And then we also have 5 people currently in the UK working through it. So it's always being managed and it's always being covered. And then, more about the levels. There's nothing you're really missing out on. Level 1 and level 2 publishers can now get on premium if you qualify. So there's nothing holding you back there. You can still use mediation. You can still use Flickify. You can still use our free hosting if you're on WordPress. There's a lot of benefits, even being at level 1. And a lot of people think it is a building block till you get to a bigger size. But I think it's important to realize that there are things that offer to level 3, 4, and 5 that are kind of the white glove service that other people might look for in other ad networks. Yeah, if you have more questions about levels, I'm happy to go into it, but I think those are some of the common points that I see often from you all. It's just the fact that you guys want more support, kind of manual interpretation. I think one thing is very important about, the expectations that we set with level 1 and level 2 is that it's a self-service type program. We don't mean that you're all on your own. It doesn't mean we will not help at all, but the idea is that we can educate you guys and give you guys all the tools so you guys can do it from your end. You don't have to wait for us. If you're having issues, we definitely have documentation. We definitely have support articles, and we definitely have pre-existing threads within the community that will give you the exact answer you want. So that's kind of the whole idea of and the kind of approach we want to take to our expectations, because we also like to think that if we are educating and we are guiding you guys to figure out how to do this, you can grow your site without us, and you don't need us at every step of the way. And the more you learn about our products, the better you can use them and actually implement them on your site. But it also just helps you develop yourself as a publisher itself. I know it's a lot. You guys got content, you guys got all these things to manage as a website owner, but kind of giving you guys the tools and the insight to kind of be self-sufficient in this program will actually just deepen your knowledge and kind of help you progress forward. That was a little bit of a rant, but Okonkwo says, okay, I can see it in my dashboard. Good. So yeah, Okonkwo is referring to the Trailblazer program and the inner domain links that NicheIQ is going to offer. So if you guys want early access to all of our new products, which there's always a number in the pipeline, never not products in the pipeline are being worked on. Join the Trailblazer program, and you can join the beta program, which again is just early access to some of our new features. And of course, we encourage feedback, because if Okonkwo is using this product and you're saying, first off, the UI is terrible, like that's totally understandable. That's kind of why we have the Trailblazer program. Just voice your opinion and say, hey, these are the main features that I would want to use if I was using this. And, this is how I'd want to use it, and this is how I expected it to use it. So if you guys do join the Trailblazer program, which I highly encourage you to, don't fret from actually sharing some of the feedback that you guys might have, because it's really beneficial for us. And, if Okonkwo says, this didn't work well for me, that's going to mean that for hundreds of other publishers, if thousands of publishers are using the same feature, hundreds of others are going to have the same exact thought. So, it really means a lot to us when you guys do voice your opinion on, in terms of the feedback. But again, a little bit of a rant. Join the Trailblazer program, join the beta program, and get early access to our features. Mind Treasure says, please, does Ezoic consider traffic from social media platforms valid traffic? Before I answer this, if you guys also want to just add your own insight here, I love that. I will definitely read your guys' comments. If you guys say, hey, I actually experienced that, let me give you my insight. This is what I did. This is what I didn't do. I just want this to be more of an environment of learning. There's no dumb questions. There's no dumb answers. Everything's okay, as long as it's, it's clean and child friendly, of course. And we want to keep it in the actual publishing realm, but I do encourage you guys to answer and reach out to each other. That is another similar approach we take in the community. We like to encourage other publishers, helping other publishers. But yes, Ezoic definitely considers social media traffic valid. In fact, it's something that we highly encourage all of you guys do, between a newsletter or Twitter or having Pinterest traffic or Facebook groups or Instagram. All those are extremely valid sources of traffic. One thing to really consider is how that social media traffic is engaging with your pages. I think there is a lot of data and science out there that says, the interaction from people coming from social media to your articles can sometimes be lower in engagement. If you maybe want to think about this from a psychological standpoint, you could say, hey, someone scrolling through TikTok is getting that instant gratification and instant dopamine fix, every couple seconds. So if they go over to a landing page that has 2,000 words to read on something they're looking for the answer for, there's probably a higher probability that they might not engage as in depth as they would if they were maybe coming from Google Search Console, and having, more organic traffic, because the data points to show that traffic coming from there is usually more high engaging. And not to go too off on a rant on this, but if we also want to look at, what's going to be the highest return on my investment for my traffic, it's going to be through Google, because the engagement is higher. And since we analyze revenue off EPMV, which is essentially engagement, the higher the engagement, the higher the bids you'll get for your inventory from advertisers, because the advertisers are saying, hey, this person's having a minute of solid engagement throughout their entire article. They're going through 4 viewports. That's going to be a very valuable bid to an advertiser. So that's just kind of something to consider. If you're pushing, what are they called? Why am I blanking? Web pages. What is the Google Snapchat slide things? Web traffic, web something. Anyway, it's just something to really consider when you are pushing social media traffic. Is just, keep an eye on your data. Use big data analytics to analyze those traffic sources. We will be tracking traffic. It'll say, from Instagram or from Facebook or for Twitter or X, and just analyze the engagement between all those and maybe find the best avenue that's going to be the highest ROI for yourself. Charity asks, well, first off, Charity, hello. I don't know if we've met before, so thank you for joining and asking this question. I'm 15 minutes behind on this, so I'll try to catch up on some of these questions here. When integrating Ezoic to my site via cloud, is there anything else I need to do besides renaming name servers? What are the steps I need to follow? I keep getting a compatibility issue error. Well, first off, Charity, if you want to reach out into our community really quick, which is right here, we can get that, looked into to make sure we give you a definitive answer of what's actually wrong. But for all of you guys integrating or changing your name servers to either Cloudflare or Ezoic, the really, really important thing to do is to make sure that your Ezoic DNS records match exactly what you have at your host. So if your host has 15 DNS records with 1 A record, a couple CNAME, and a www, you want to make sure that the Ezoic DNS records match exactly what you have at your host. That is one of the higher probabilities you'll have 0 compatibility issues. Another thing, if you are having a compatibility issue, is to check if you have SSL enabled at your host. Since you are cloud integrated with us, we'll give you free SSL that auto updates, so you never have to do anything. Again, just the most important thing is that your DNS records in Ezoic match exactly what you have at your host. So you don't need to make any changes to your host DNS. You just need to make sure that your Ezoic DNS match exactly that. If you guys want me to show you kind of how to update, add, adjust your Ezoic DNS records, I can definitely do that for you as well. Just let me know and I can do that. Okonkwo, I don't. Okay, so Okonkwo's question is, does Ezoic Humix support vertical videos? What I mean is, does with adopt the player to be like TikTok style videos? So we don't have that format yet. We still have just the squared out unit for both the universal player and the floating Humix video. If you're talking about maybe a video that covers the full screen and kind of, works the same way as those web pages, we don't have that yet. But if you think of a kind of an example or an implementation in terms of a framework or a device, that's definitely something we will consider. We do have to play into the guidelines of Google, of course. So sometimes there are restrictions on, having too much of a viewport be taken by a video, and other things like that, because if that is the case, then that means ads are going to be covered, which wouldn't be obviously good at all for anyone. But we don't currently have that. It's definitely something that we can, take into consideration, especially if it falls within the guidelines, and then go from there. Yeah, I just actually answered this, and I want to make sure you did hear that okay. I'm thinking to run ads. Is it advisable? It's definitely advisable. And even if you guys have a lot of solid ranking articles within Google Search Console, there's nothing going to harm you to actually promote your content and your domain on different social medias as well. I think it's best to attack every avenue to get traffic and not just focus on one. So again, definitely go after some social media traffic, create a newsletter, post on Twitter, post on Instagram, post on TikTok, post on Pinterest, get your articles ranking in Google Search Console, use every possible avenue to kind of direct those users to your website. Even YouTube, definitely we've seen a lot of publishers that have really good YouTube channels that direct users to their domain. And that's a great thing. We can kind of talk more about that, but I don't want to go too deep of a rabbit hole right now. Sir, did this Google core update also affect YouTube channel traffic? I had a website which was affected due to spam update, and I just embedded links in YouTube, in video descriptions of YouTube. Should I remove it on YouTube, or should I remove it YouTube? No, this should have no effect. I think most of the spam things have kind of been identified, we believe. But I don't think this has anything to do with adding your links to your YouTube channel. And I know the YouTube algorithm kind of performs differently. I know that's super heavily on engagement of your videos and watch time. But adding those, links from your YouTube, you said you added it to your YouTube channel traffic. Oh, you add them to the video descriptions. Yeah, no, I definitely not. I think that's just going to be directing your users, from YouTube, as I was just saying, to your domain, which is definitely has not been identified as part of the update. It would not hinder that at all. But if you do have a really good YouTube channel, I would definitely highly suggest importing it to Ezoic, so that way you can have all your YouTube videos on your pages. SEMrush did a meta-analysis for us and definitely showed that pages with at least one video have sometimes 80% higher engagement and get more traffic compared to posts without one video. So adding videos to your pages is super beneficial. My nose is so itchy. Thought I was gonna sneeze. This website traffic to my YouTube channel through external in the form of Google search. I see a lot of drop whenever these updates happen. I today removed reference on the website. Will this increase? Again, these are some things, the best option sometimes is to test, but that has not been identified, and that is not something that I can point to as a fact or just a theory or a hypothesis for right now. I don't think testing is a bad option, but in terms of just having your YouTube or your article URLs embedded into your video descriptions on YouTube, I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. If there is no more access now, does that mean those with less than 10,000 monthly views can't apply to join Ezoic? No, that is not the case. I definitely want to make that clear that it does not matter the size of your website or how many visits. You can always join Ezoic through level 1. Access Now has just been adopted into level 1. So level 1 and Access Now are now the same thing. But yeah, no page view limits, no visit limits. We'll work with everyone. We do, if you want to monetize with Ezoic, we do suggest having maybe at least 1,000 visits in total, whether that's from the last 30 days to the 6 or 2 months, whatever it is, just so we can actually analyze and verify your traffic is high quality and real. Because when we do monetize your site, first off, we need to make sure that the engagement is high quality so that the advertisers are benefiting from this relationship. And B, just to make sure that Google will also approve the domain. It doesn't actually have to do anything with traffic, but still, we just want to make sure that the domain's in a place where it can be monetized. One more problem. I just created a lot of websites since October of 2022. Spam update. But all websites start to rank after 7 days. Google just de-index and remove it from my index. Why is that? My niche coding. So I think it's really important to actually look at the content itself. Not so much the fact that all of these are new websites. I know if you are producing like 50 articles in a day, Google doesn't like that, but in reality, some of these major corporations are doing a similar deal. They're doing, they're writing articles, they're editing articles, and then they'll have a date to publish them. And sometimes they will publish them all on the same date. For whatever reason, Google seems as they didn't like this, but don't think that's gonna, I don't think that should pull you back from actually still producing that content. I just wouldn't produce and publish all of the content on the same date. But again, I think it's just important to kind of, stay up on top of the Reddit threads, stay on top of Twitter, and just say, hey, these are the things that people are identifying and have found explicit examples for. But right now, it's pretty hard for us to draw conclusions without Google actually saying explicitly what they're going for. So I heard Ezoic is planning to separate Flickify from Ezoic site's dashboard to standalone site from the weekly webinar. That is not something that I'm aware of. I know we are trying to isolate our products separately. So we have Ezoic ads, we have Humix, we have Niche IQ, we have Flickify, and we have our hosting. So we like to keep our products, interdependent of each other. But I did not know that we're going to do completely separate dashboards, and I don't think that's going to be the case still. Everything is going to exist within one dashboard, at least that I know for now. If that weekly webinar was this morning, I can ask. My sister ran it, of all people, so I can definitely just go ask at her desk after this and see what's up. But so far, no, that's not going to be the case. I earn about $250 per month passively from Humix by having my YouTube videos. Will this be passive income as I upload more YouTubes? Yes, exactly. And those are really insane numbers. And that's what I'm trying to say. If you guys do have videos, importing them both to your own pages and to Humix is so beneficial. It really, really is so beneficial. To give you an example, so let's say I have my own YouTube channel and I have 50 videos. There's no reason why I shouldn't upload them to Humix. If you guys are not familiar with Humix, Humix is a video sharing network. So if I uploaded 50 videos and Roxy or Okonkwo, someone here is like, hey, a video that Charlie made is actually directly applicable to my own page, I can actually use Charlie's video on my own page and split the earnings. So if you're a really small publisher with not a lot of views or page views, but you have a lot of high quality videos, you sharing those videos to the Humix network gives you a really good chance of actually, having your video show for hundreds of thousands of viewers if a bigger site does take on your videos, or if like 10 big sites take on your videos. You could then be getting, hundreds of thousands of impressions on your videos, even if you only have 1,000 visits in a month on your actual domain. So again, if you guys are unfamiliar with Humix, Humix is a video sharing network where you can share others' videos on your own pages and split the revenue, and vice versa. So there's a lot of utility for that. And there's no reason you can't publish the same videos on YouTube and have them on Humix. In fact, it's something we would highly encourage you do. But yeah, so again, $250 a month, that's really great. That's super impressive. If you upload more videos, which you can do as a batch, it will not hurt you. It will only help. Hello, Roxy. How do I make WordPress Rocket work with Ezoic, as I don't want to use Ezoic Leap? So if you're not using Leap, you can actually just disable our caching as well. If Leap is disabled, our caching will be disabled, and then you can just use use WordPress Rocket as intended. I can share with you something right now that will kind of show you exactly what we're talking about. The article I just posted is what caching plugins are compatible with Ezoic. And once you actually do look at it, you will see that Rocket Cache is compatible. Super Cache with WordPress is also compatible. And W3 Total Cache is also compatible. But some of the Incompatible caching plugins are Swift Performance Cache, Lightspeed Cache, which is very common one we see all the time, WordPress Fastest Cache, Auto Optimize Cache, that's another one we see a lot, WordPress Optimize, and SG Optimizer. Those are all incompatible. One that we should probably add to here, which I'm not sure if it's explicitly a caching plugin, but if you are using Jetpack, that will also create tons of issues, both with our traffic collection. We won't be sending Ezoic versions of your pages. Wow, I couldn't speak there. But again, if you're using Jetpack, definitely remove and disable that because it'll create tons and tons of issues. By mistake, I deleted Ezoic DNS records from Cloudflare. How do I get them back? Currently, I'm connected through the Ezoic plugin, but I want to get connected to Cloudflare. Did you remove them in Cloudflare or in Ezoic? It sounds like you removed them in Cloudflare. You should be able to sign into Cloudflare and actually just add those DNS records again yourself. But I can show you how to do it within the Ezoic dashboard if you would like. Well, let me know if you want me to share my screen and show you. But to add your DNS records back into Ezoic, if that was the case, is you go to the settings tab of your dashboard on the very top right, and then you'll find DNS records on the left, and you can just hit the pencil icon to edit, or you can just add a record or delete a record from there. Okay, so Okonko was talking about the TikTok style layout, like a vertical form of a video. What I mean is a feature I saw from Mediavine. When you scroll, the sticky video is in portrait instead of landscape at the bottom right of the site. If it's on Mediavine, that definitely means it's within Google policy. That probably means we already are testing it. So if that is the case, then it probably will become available. I do have a question for you, Okonko. Is that for desktop or is that specifically for mobile? Because that'll be good to know. But I'm assuming desktop because a vertical video in mobile would probably take up most of the entire page. What is the weekly limit of videos I can upload to Humix? I don't think there is no, unless something's dramatically changed, there's no limit. And in fact, like I said before, you can actually just upload your entire YouTube channel to Humix. So we have like a channel importer now in Humix as well. So you don't have to upload everything one by one. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a max at all there at all. So you should be golden. So yeah, again, Okonko, I would just highly suggest doing like the whole channel import style and then kind of going from there. So Roxy, so we do on the back end keep track of all of the DNS records you have within Ezoic or deleted there. But if you delete them at Cloudflare and you have no records of them, I would reach out to Cloudflare directly and just say, hey, I made these changes around this time frame. Can you help me get those other DNS records added to my DNS again? Yeah, Okonko. I think that would definitely have to be explicitly for desktop and not mobile. But Roxy, to go back to this DNS thing, we can get these configured within Ezoic correctly. And if you added your Cloudflare records to Ezoic when you originally integrated, those DNS records will still exist. But also, when you do update DNS records in Cloudflare, we normally will just automatically revert them due to the way our integration works. So yeah, it's hard to tell exactly where the site sits at this moment without seeing it. So if you want to reach out to us in the community, we can at least take a really quick look, make sure the site's live, make sure it's fully functioning, and kind of go from there. I visited a site in desktop, though don't know if it works in mobile. Yeah, I would imagine that the viewport on mobile, it would be a very small vertical screen, and you're already on a mobile device, so it probably wouldn't work well. We can definitely, let me write this down. We can definitely look into this for desktop, even though I'm sure we all are. One thing I really wanted to kind of emphasize in this live stream, and I really encourage you guys all to do, is to go into Flickify and start making some of those free videos. Oh, there is. So Okonko is saying, why am I asking is 1 week? My Humix account was displaying I've exhausted the maximum in a week. I had to wait for the next week. So that is interesting. That is something, let me write this down so I don't forget, but there should be no limits to that at all. The only limits in terms of videos you'll probably have in Ezoic is your Flickify credits. So everyone gets free Flickify credits per month now, depending on your level. And I would highly suggest creating those videos for free and adding them to your pages. What I would also suggest doing is going to your analytics, going to content on the left side, find your top landing pages, and then create videos for all your top landing pages first. That way, exactly as I say, all the highest or most frequently visited pages have videos on them. So that we can drive up engagement and kind of earn some more and increase EPMV there. But I did not know there was Humix limitations. Let me pull up an example. That's really surprising that there's limitations on Humix, to be fair, especially when we originally started, we had the entire channel import option. So I'm in Humix, I'm going to Studio, import from YouTube. Yeah, Okonko, can you reach out to us in support? Because I don't think that should be the option, because we have the option within Humix to import an entire channel still. So that makes me think that there could be something going wrong here. But I could also have this backwards, but you should be able to import all your videos exactly directly from YouTube or from an MRSS feed. Yes, Roxy, this is a great question. It's probably best to just give you a quick example of what this does. Let me just pull up a page really quick that we can take a look at. All right, let's say this is the page. Oh wait, let me move this comment. There we go. So let's get this into inspect. We're going to go into a mobile view. We're going to access it using, let's just say, an iPhone. All right, reload the page. So let's say one of these ads was too big. This one's borderline too big. But the first thing we want to do, let's say we're looking at this one because this one goes width to width. What you're going to first want to do is make sure you have the Ezoic Chrome extension downloaded. And then you just open the Chrome extension and you'll see all of your ads go to these colored boxes. Those are placeholders. I don't know why it's not showing, but I'm going to activate placeholders. One thing to keep in mind when you guys are messing with your placeholders and your ad setup is that all of these placeholders are just potential ad locations. They are not ad locations that are going to serve every single time. But what I'm doing right now, when I'm kind of just waiting for it to load, is this: I just activated the Chrome extension so I can look at the placeholders themselves. And then I can show you how to edit the sizes from there. It's definitely taking a bit longer because I'm live streaming and pushing through YouTube. Look at my CPU usage. It's going to be a lot for Chrome. Bear with me for a second. But once we get these placeholders showing, oh, okay. This might actually be a different issue. There might be some AdSense ads showing on this site simultaneously with Ezoic, which is really bad. Okay, so let's say we want to adjust this one because look, there's a 728 by 90 enabled. So this is actually a perfect example. This is bad. So what we're going to do to change the mobile size is just click on the actual name of the placeholder itself. We're going to do edit. And then the second tab here, right here, is going to be the sizes enabled. So as you can see, the 728 by 90 is enabled for mobile, which is too big. So we're going to remove that. If you wanted to remove the whole size itself, you can do that. And you can see it's removed from all devices. But when I add it back, I can just add it and you can see it's enabled for desktop, it's enabled for mobile, it's enabled for tablet, and I can just click on this so it's not gonna, so this size will not show for mobile anymore. And I should probably go through the rest because that's a little sus. But you can see like these billboard ads aren't enabled for mobile. And then I'm just gonna save that. Now that 728 will not show anymore. And one nice feature of the Chrome extension is that when you activate the placeholders with the Chrome extension, the largest size selected for that device will show. So if there are issues with placeholders with too big of sizes for certain devices, you'll be able to see that very apparently when you activate the Chrome extension. Because again, the largest size selected for that device will show, similar to how it showed right here. It's definitely being really slow because I'm using all of these resources to live stream, but you can even see this 468 still too big because it's the biggest size enabled. But I'm going to go through that later. Over time, our AI will figure out the best ad layout, and if we recognize that, those are creating very poor user experience, we won't show them again. But that's just how you would actually do that yourself to adjust placeholder sizes. Okay, so you have asked your question. This is good. Did you ask that in the community or did you ask that elsewhere? Because in the community, I can go ahead and make sure that gets addressed. And I can also do that for a ticket as well. Of course, Roxy, happy to help. Okonkwo, so I wrote that down to make sure I get an answer for you, and I remember your domain, so I can reach out to you there. But it looks like I caught up on all questions and I covered my Google update, and there's definitely a lot of features that I want to talk about moving forward, but I think that's going to be for next week. So if you guys like this, if you want to join again, if you want to ask more questions next week, I'm going to have more of a presentation for products that we're kind of working on and things that you should utilize in 2024 to kind of help project yourself forward in this publisher ecosystem. But I wanted to reach out and say thank you guys so much for kind of joining today. I know it's been a while and it's been a minute, but I do really appreciate you guys all coming out with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your Tuesday. Hopefully get outside if you can, if you guys have sunlight and appropriate weather. But again, I appreciate you guys answering questions for each other, offering your insight, offering great feedback for some of our features already. So I just want to say thank you again. You guys are the best. I'm probably going to do next week live streams more towards the Thursday, Friday mark. That's kind of what I was doing before. I think it's a fun way to run to start my end of the week days. So definitely look out for more emails for these. I will definitely be doing these more consistently. Again, thank you guys so much. It was great to connect with you guys. And if you want more help or if you want to reach out to me later today, I will be in the community with the rest of the team. So I'll see you guys there, and ciao.